right, guys, welcome back to another video. So as we know, Xbox, Microsoft versus the FTC and dealing with the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition. They have been waiting to see if the FTC was going to withdraw their case, withdraw their August 2nd trial date for the in-house trial. The FTC has already lost. I mean, there really isn't anything I think that they can do at this point. They lost. The appeal got shut down. Microsoft is going to be closing this deal in due time. Right now, they're trying to work with the CMA, come to an understanding there, come to an agreement there, so they don't have to close over the CMA, where if they want to, they could. But the speculation here is that in the future, if they want to make future acquisitions, they want to be on good terms with the CMA. So they have decided to push this deal off a little bit and not close yet. But now when it comes to the FTC, they had until yesterday to make a decision whether they were going to withdraw their administrative case, and they have decided to withdraw the case. This here is from Tom Warren saying the FTC has withdrawn its administrative case seeking to block Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition that was due to start on August 2nd. This is purely procedural, as Microsoft has forced it, and the FTC could file the case again. Now, people are wondering what all of this means. I mean, this is making it sound like the door is still open for the FTC to come back and file another case, which I guess they could. We do have this thread here that explains it very, very well. And this is from Michael Acton. Michael Acton is part of MLEX. And we know a lot of information throughout this entire saga of Xbox Activision Blizzard has been taken from MLEX, which is a database essentially for mergers and acquisitions and legal information that you have to have an account for. And I don't believe they just give these accounts to everybody. I believe you have to be in the industry in terms of being an analyst or some sort of mergers and acquisitions, lawyers, all that type of stuff. So he is with MLEX exclusive senior correspondent in San Francisco. Here is what Michael Acton says. He says, Microsoft Activision, seeing some speculation that the FTC's pause on its case, almost certainly coming today, so this was just before it happened, but it did come, raises potential of settlement talks. I am skeptical that this is going to happen. Quick thread. It would sense if Microsoft lost in court on the preliminary injunction and wanted to come to terms, but it didn't. So basically saying here, if they would have lost the PI, they would be creating a settlement here with the FTC to get this deal passed, but they won. So, I mean, it's Microsoft here that essentially is going to be able to dictate these terms. Continues here and says, it's true the pause will allow Con to pick up the phone to Brad Smith because it removes the firewall that applies under Part 3 procedures. What's Microsoft's incentive, though? They can close. Sony has now signed the Call of Duty deal. From the FTC side, it has built a case that the transaction is disastrous for multiple areas of the gaming market. So my overriding question is, what could an acceptable remedy for the FTC, which addresses its many concerns, possibly look like? Also, remedies still don't get us past the fact that the FTC, or if the FTC were to pursue its administrative case, it would be breaking the decades of precedent. So don't expect really anything out of this, at least in my opinion, and Michael Acton's opinion here. Microsoft really has no incentive to go into settlement talks here with the FTC. I mean, they signed the Sony deal. That may be presented as an additional thing. But other than that, they won in court. They can go ahead and close this deal. They don't need to make any more remedies. And just really wouldn't make sense. They spent all that money on lawyers. They spent all of that time fighting the FTC and be coming out victorious, allowing them to close. They're just going to go ahead and close. And I don't think really the FTC has any more power in stopping this case or getting more from Microsoft. Again, especially after Sony has already signed that Call of Duty deal. Now, when it comes to the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition, there is one company here, not the only one. I mean, there are other companies that have come out, like Take-Two, but another company, I should say, Ubisoft, who actually loves that Microsoft is buying Activision, and here's why. This is from CEO Yizgimo, believes that the deal is a good thing, and it shows that Ubisoft is on the right path. This was during an investor briefing with Ubisoft, and here's what he says. I think it's good news that the transaction can go through because it really shows the power of IPs and where the industry is going. So there will be lots of opportunities in the future for the companies, for all the companies. It also shows the value of IPs that can be on the console and PC, but also mobile and become more worldwide brands. That's a fantastic opportunity. Microsoft is saying that the mobile part of that Activision deal is important. So all the investment we are making to be stronger on mobile is also in line with that. I mean, he's saying here, Microsoft, a leader in the gaming industry, coming out with the importance of how big mobile is, and this deal being for mobile is giving Ubisoft comfort, I guess, in the way that they are going. Now, when it comes to Ubisoft, they don't just focus on mobile, of course. I mean, we're looking at this gameplay trailer here of Star Wars Outlaws, and we have more information on that game that we talked about earlier this week. Game looks absolutely phenomenal. Ubisoft, I think, is trending now in the right direction. People thought they were off a little bit. I think Ubisoft in general as a company, in terms of the games that they make, they get hated on a lot, and I kind of think it's trendy, to be completely honest. I don't think it's completely fair. I mean, there are definitely things with Ubisoft games you can criticize, but they do make awesome games. I enjoy them, and there are a lot of people out there that do enjoy them, and I think Star Wars Outlaws is going to be another one of those games. And they have games across multiple different styles of genres, from looter shooters to single player games to side-scrolling action platformers to big open world RPGs, and also in the mobile space. So they're kind of similar in a sense to Microsoft in that way, just not as big. I mean, even with the first person shooter style of genre, X-Defined coming out, which is going to be potentially a Call of Duty competitor. And then you also have Rainbow Six, which is still a very popular game. And them looking at Microsoft as a company to follow, I guess, and to push them in the right direction, I think will also help bolster that relationship as they can work together, which they have been with Ubisoft games coming into Game Pass, as well as the Ubisoft Plus subscription being available on Xbox. So that was interesting to see Yuzguimo supporting this deal and saying, hey, they're going in the right direction. And maybe you never know, this is another one of those companies that have been in the rumors for acquisitions. They've been in the rumors of wanting to sell, and when they were going on their downturn with everything that was happening, it may have been one of those companies that was seriously looking to sell, but they didn't end up finding a buyer. But maybe sometime in the future there will be more partnerships between Ubisoft and Microsoft. Now let's jump over here. Let's talk about Square Enix and Final Fantasy 16. So there's been a lot of differing reports here about Final Fantasy 16. A lot of people have different opinions on whether Final Fantasy 16 has been selling well, and if it's success on the PlayStation 5. You can have your opinions on it, but now Square Enix has actually come out and said that they do say that Final Fantasy 16 sales are a success right now because of the install base for the PlayStation 5. They say here, Square Enix has insisted the sales of Final Fantasy 16 are extremely strong, telling IGN that the game has sold well relative to the PlayStation 5 install base. And honestly, if you sit back and you do think about it, if you look at Final Fantasy 16, you compare it to something like Final Fantasy 15. I think it's much weaker in sales than Final Fantasy 15. I mean, that's a fact. Final Fantasy 15 was insane how it sold 5 million units in its first day, and Final Fantasy 16 right now is just pushing about 3 million units. It's even less than Final Fantasy 7 Remake. So in terms of if you're comparing it one-to-one to each Final Fantasy game, locking Final Fantasy 16 to the PlayStation 5 is clearly something that has hurt the sales of Final Fantasy. I don't see how that is something that is really that debatable from the performance of previous Final Fantasy games that have been multi-platform. But 3 million sales on an install base of 30 to 35 or 38 million consoles is actually relatively good. So I can definitely agree here with Square Enix when they say that the sales are strong. 3 million install base is a pretty good amount of sales. Now, if you're doing some quick maths, taking away what Square Enix is saying here, that this is successful, you could also argue that as of right now, it still isn't meeting that threshold as other numbers that we have seen from a first-party PlayStation perspective. Now, I know Final Fantasy 16 isn't first-party, but it is a locked console exclusive, so you could kind of make that comparison. And from numbers, if I recall on top of my head, PlayStation had said that they have about a 12% attach rate of their first-party games, and right now Final Fantasy 16 is sitting at 7-8% compared to the first-party game. So will it ever reach 12%? We will see, but as of right now, Square Enix, a company notoriously coming out and saying that their games don't perform well, even if as gamers, it looks like they are performing well, is saying that Final Fantasy 16 is successful. Now, specifically Here is what they say. With 38 million PS5 consoles shipped globally as of March 31st, 2023, sales of Final Fantasy 16 surpassed 3 million units worldwide several days after its release on June 22nd, 2023. Taking into consideration the sales figures of the acclaimed Final Fantasy 7 Remake and the difference in size of the install base of the PlayStation 4 at the time of this title's release, we can see that the attach rate of Final Fantasy 16 is considerably high given the PlayStation 5 install base. Square Enix considers the initial sale results of Final Fantasy 16 to be extremely strong. We will continue to carry out a wide range of initiatives to encourage even more people to play the game. So they believe it's strong, and if that's the decision that they have come to, then we can't really say that Final Fantasy 16 isn't performing well. Square Enix seems to be very happy about that. So overall, is Final Fantasy 16 successful? You could say yes. What does this mean for the franchise going forward, though? Does it mean that they are going to continue with locked Final Fantasy games to the PlayStation 5? And the other thing, a lot of people are probably wondering, does it also mean that the hack and slash combat for Final Fantasy games in the future is here to stay? Because if these numbers are as positive as they think they are, then we're probably going to see more of that style of gameplay. And I think for a lot of core Final Fantasy fans from the very beginning, they kind of wanted to see go back to its roots of the turn-based combat. But hey, if this game did release on multiple platforms, it probably would have sold far more. Got to ask yourself, how big of a bag also did PlayStation give Square Enix for this game to end up being profitable at the end of the day? Because if it costs hundreds of millions of dollars to make, 3 million isn't going to cut it. Who knows what the end result will be, but PlayStation must have given a lot of money as well. Now let's jump over here and things off talking about a big Spider-Man 2 announcement. There was a new story trailer. Make sure to go check that out. But the bigger announcement out of this entire thing was that they announced there's going to be a special edition Spider-Man 2 PlayStation 5. You can see it here, and it's going to have a special edition controller, which I think looks pretty good. But on top of that, if you don't want to if you already have a PS5 and you don't want to pick up the entire console, they're actually going to have the face plates available for you to buy to just put onto your regular PlayStation 5. And this is actually a disc version of the PS5 coming with the game and everything, and with the controller itself. It says here, that's right, Marvel Spider-Man 2 will feature on custom PlayStation 5 hardware. The PS5 console Marvel Spider-Man 2 limited edition bundle has a custom PS5 console cover design with the symbiote closing in on our white spider icon. Additionally, a matching DualSense wireless controller is included, which again shows the symbiote thread creeping across the entire controller. The bundle also includes a voucher for a digital copy of the game. So if you're looking for a special edition PlayStation 5, there it is. And you're also going to, again, pick up the controller or the plates separately themselves. Now, for me, I don't know, this isn't that interesting to me just because it's still the regular PlayStation 5. It's still such a huge console, and we've been hearing all the rumors about a PS5 Slim being announced sometime soon. I much rather see that announcement coming up, and I don't think we will be seeing that now anytime soon, because this is probably the big console they're going to be pushing for the release of Spider-Man. But maybe after that, going into the holiday season, maybe you'll see a slight price cut and a PS5 Slim pushed out there to try to capitalize on the Christmas rush. I hope that does come. And I would much rather something like that than this special edition here. It does look cool though. So if you just want to replace the faceplates and still get that Spider-Man look without actually having to go out and buy the console, that is an additional feature that the PS5 has, which is pretty good. But Spider-Man 2 is exciting. And the big thing here people are going to be doing as soon as this game comes out and then a Starfield releases is doing that comparison. Which game are more people playing? Which game is a better game? All that type of stuff. Even though they're completely different games, that is what we will see. I personally, if I'm choosing one, I'm going with Starfield. I think Starfield is going to be a generational game, but I will definitely be picking up and playing Spider-Man 2 as well. But I will leave the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.